Hey, how you guys doing, YouTube? I managed to pick up a Nintendo Classic, SNES Classic, and I wanted to talk to it for a minute about some of the features this thing has and the reason why you should buy this, even though they have emulators for, Super Nintendo. Most of the games you can get on an emulator, but everybody always asks, why should I buy a Super Nintendo Classic for 80 bucks when I could just get the emulator? So one of the things I want to talk about is the respect for, Nintendo and some of the game makers that made these games. Some of these games have been classics and games that have spawned many games today. A lot of ideas and creativity went in some of these games. Not to mention for a person my age that grew up in the 90s and we had access to Super Nintendo, and some of these games are like a part of our classic memories, our childhood memories, and some of the greatest games I've ever played are still on that system to today. Not to mention the Super Nintendo controller is probably the second best controller ever created in my opinion. So let's get to 5 of my favorite games on here. And it was a really tough time trying to figure out which games to pick out of these 5. I had to rearrange this a lot of times. And some of these games got in because just the amount of hours I put into playing them, it overrode everything else. So this is not in any particular order, but these are 5 of my favorite games that are on the system. And one of them being Super Metroid. I know Super Metroid. Metroid's a classic series. They still make sequels to it now. And it's one of my favorite all-time games. I could play that game now today and still enjoy it just like I did when it first was released. My second game on the list is The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Now, that's another one of those games where I can play all day and still get a lot of enjoyment out of it. It was a return to the over-the-top style gameplay that was from the original Zelda. And it's still a time-honored favorite to many people. And that one spawned a sequel on the Nintendo 3DS, which is a pretty good game in its own right. My third game is Secret of Mana. Now, I remember going crazy because this game had 3 players. And at the time, that was a rare thing to have a game that was more than 2 players. And it was an RPG with 3 players. I thought man, this is the greatest thing that ever happened. I can remember spending a ton of hours playing this game. The 4th game on this list is Star Fox. Now I know a lot of people have said that the game doesn't hold up now and the frame rate is bad, but at that time it was cutting edge and groundbreaking to have a shooter game of that magnitude, and it's one of my all-time favorites. Another game that a lot of people say didn't hold up well is Super Mario Kart. But that Mario Kart, I can remember spending tons and tons of hours in battle mode playing with various family members all day, just battle mode, not even racing. And that's probably one of the all-time greatest games ever it's just ridiculous how good that game was at that time. So the reason why we're here, the unboxing. So let's take a look and see what we have inside of here. Let's see what we got. I'm gonna open this thing and see how it's packaged. Okay. We have an instruction manual and a poster. Wow. See one of those in a long time. See what this is. So we have warranty information, and we have startup instructions, how to hook up the system. It's funny. Oh wow, I remember when I was a kid, these posters, I would hang them all over my walls. And they would come in various games. And yeah, this is pretty cool that they put it in a little bit of nostalgia from the 90s. Makes me laugh. And then what do we have here? The system, I do believe. Wow. Wow. This thing is super tiny. I cannot believe how tiny this thing is, and light. Fit in my hand. It's like a little thing, huh? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's see what else we got in here. We got an adapter. Let's see, we have USBs. I assume this is going to plug into the controllers, so you can plug in controllers or not. Wow, classic Super Nintendo controller. I remember these things. They feel so good in your hand, you just wouldn't believe it. This is probably, like I said, my second favorite controller ever created. It fits in your hand so perfect. And it's tight. For Street Fighter and those games like that, I mean, it's real tight. I love these controllers. Very simple, but very, very effective. Got controller number 2. And the HDMI cord. HDMI. So I wanted to talk about one of the reasons as well as why to buy this system. It's out of respect for those developers. I mean, those guys, they put in some good hours making this thing, and this is so nostalgia. And the fact of the matter is I still have an original Super Nintendo, but most of the games that I play on it, it's on this system, and I don't have to keep switching tapes out every time to play a different game. So I just have it all in one place. As well as using, if you're using a ROM, I know they have knockoff controllers for Super Nintendo to plug into your computer that you can use with the emulators, but I mean, there's nothing like the real deal right here. Always want to give back to these companies that put in a lot of time and effort. I know some of you are like, oh yeah, whatever, they're just a greedy company, but I mean, Nintendo was a big part of my childhood, and this is probably one of the better series of things they've done in a long time. I can't wait actually for them to release a Nintendo 64 version of this as well. A 64 mini would be a pretty cool deal. I would really be on board for that as well. And even the GameCube, even though I didn't play the GameCube that much, I kind of moved on from Nintendo products, but I'm looking forward to what they have in store for the future. So yeah, we have the Super Nintendo Mini. And thanks for watching my unboxing of my Super Nintendo Classic. And please subscribe and like my videos. And thank you for your time.